Well, welcome. Yeah.
Welcome to Gen AI Con Marketing. I'm delighted to have Alex Shevelenko here from Relay2, and I'll pass it over to you, Alex, to introduce
Hey,
yourself.
hey, thanks, Francesca. So all the B2B marketers, all the complex content marketers, pay attention. This is for you. If you're doing something that's, super, super high scale for consumer brand, probably less interesting immediately, but in a lot of those organizations, you have a lot of internal communications. And so this may also be very relevant. So what I want to kind of cover from a perspective of what we're doing. That my name is Alex Shevelenko. I'm CEO, co-founder of Relay2, but more importantly, I'm just a B2B marketer, and I think this was applications of AI that was built to scratch that itch. And everywhere where B2B marketers look, they keep hearing, okay, AI is going to change marketing forever, analyzing data, automating content creation, designing creative, manual tasks can be done better, faster, more in less time. We can cover the world with our content. And there are a couple problems. One is many of them don't know where exactly to get started because they still live in a lot of kind of hey, I have presentations, I have PDFs. That's the majority of my content if I'm selling anything complex with a large ticket item. And then separately, even let's say they figure out how to use Microsoft to create AI powered PowerPoint a little bit faster. They could do more email generation. But actually, I think marketers, in particular B2B marketers, but probably everyone, tend to ruin every party they get invited to because they tend to overdo it, right? Like whenever there's a tactic, we go all in, and then we kind of lose sight a little bit of the end recipient of that. And I'm already losing sight of getting bombarded as a CEO of rapidly growing company of like what are obviously AI generated spammy emails with pseudo personalization. And so what we want to kind of figure out in the course of the section is how can you move and kind of cover this deluge of AI, Gen AI content that's coming our way, and how can we use the powers of Gen AI to turn that into an interactive, engaging experience that moves our customers forward. Does that sound like a worthwhile goal for a Gen
Yeah,
AI
no,
conference?
absolutely. There are definitely challenges with generative AI and receiving just this information overload. Um,
Great. Well, why don't I
so
show rather than tell, like what
yeah, absolutely. Really
we're
looking forward
doing.
to seeing your
Let's be
solution.
real, do a live demo because it would be kind
I
of
mean, I've tried your
awkward.
product and it's great. It's exceeded all expectations.
There you go. That's the love that we have is that everybody can try it. You don't have to have a sorry. You don't have to have um a huge budget and lots of time to figure it out. And you're looking at what used to be a Google Slides generated PDF, and now you're looking at an interactive microsite, and we'll dig into that a little bit. Interactive means that I could kind of get additional deep dive of what people say about this, and the idea is that anybody can turn what we know how to do, which is PowerPoints and PDFs and emails and maybe even static videos, into something that's fit for the modern world. And that world is obviously has this AI component, but let's just not forget that there's something called no code, which is allowing people to build more and more powerful applications that are fit for purpose, without being techies. And at the same time, we obviously live in a lot more asynchronous world. So how do we create human-like interactions asynchronously 24/7? And lastly, and really what importantly, we'll come back to this, we are visually much more in demand of a more engaging experiences visually than we were before. And if you think about average PDF, average PowerPoint, they haven't fundamentally changed since before the World Wide Web, right? Like PowerPoint is pre-World Wide Web product, and this is the fundamental problem that we want everybody to kind of realize, because it was sort of it is the last area where we can kind of upgrade the modern marketing toolkit for especially B2B universe and internal communications universe. So the problem obviously is that this PDF was created as a virtual piece of paper, literally. And I actually worked, my very first internship even was at Microsoft Office product marketing, product management team, figuring out why is this thing called PDF coming in and taking over Word and PowerPoint as the last mile of what customers see online. And, a couple decades later, nothing has changed, because it's sort of still easy to create docs and decks and then to ship them in this sort of static container called the PDF. And it's really hard to build a custom website, for that same type of one-to-one or one-to-few content, because you don't have an army of web designers, web developers, and to put it together. And so the problem that having this difficulty with the web content is that we end up still creating very expensive campaigns and ads and outreach and expensive outbound marketing people, driving people towards crappy static content that doesn't do anything for your brand, doesn't do anything for your audience, doesn't give you any insight about what's the real engagement was, what really matters. And this really starts at the top of the funnel, and really, for smart B2B marketers who really care about revenue, it goes all the way down to customer engagement, to failed onboarding for subscription driven businesses. This is like a real suck. And so it's a total failure. And so how do you move from that to an interactive world where everybody wins? You kind of you differentiate your brand, and the consumers win. And we believe that the answer is not necessarily generative AI, although it's part of the solution. It's actually turning this content that we could now personalize maybe slightly better through generative AI into an experience that actually somebody wants to consume. So that's how we bridge that experience, the gap between what people are creating today and what people actually want to consume. And that's the whole idea. And the magic of it, I think, needs to be that it happens quickly, right? Like that it's easy to do, right? Like, so what are the parallels of this where it has succeeded in related areas? So obviously, we probably heard of Canva. It's doing a great job in some, design, graphic design optimizations, and it's, valued accordingly by the investment community, 26 billion. And same thing with Figma, which is democratized product design, just like Canva democratized graphic design. And we believe that the future is actually about democratizing interactive design. And so this is what we ultimately call interactive AI. It needs to be super simple. So what do we mean by that? So we're very fortunate to have learned and worked and partnered with amazing organizations. One of them is Salesforce, which is sort of the granddaddy in the best sense of the world of B2B Disneyland type of experiences, right? But even Salesforce, even though their content is amazing, branded, still ends up creating these complex content for support, very sophisticated products that they end up looking like Adobe PDF like this. So they came to us and said, right, look, we need to create something that levels up the substance of the brilliant content design that we have into a better experience. And increasingly that is done with AI. So let's dig in and just see a video of what they're doing, what that looks like. And I'm going to turn down the sound and just walk you through a little bit. So first we could just drag and drop tons of PDFs, videos, what you name it. Like, let's pick PDFs into Relate to, and now you have a web-based, automatically generated content hub, right? It was all that content available. Now, one of the killer capabilities that we are using Gen AI for is we can look at the content and analyze it and actually generate navigation. So people could get to why is navigation important, like in your view, Frankie, like you've played around with Relate to, like I think you had a 40-page presentation or something like that. What's the risk of a 40-page presentation? I don't know if you're on mute. I can't hear you, but I'll answer for you. The risk of, the majority of the time for our customers, the risk of a 40-page presentation is that they fundamentally can't navigate it. You know, like they get lost. They if they're on their phone, it's kind of impossible. But I think creating a persistent navigation helps people get to the parts they care about in a smart way. The other critical area is obviously like, how do you reuse your videos, right? Like we talked about, we can generate videos with AI. Now you could just drop a video inside, and then like it will fit in underneath your text, and so you don't need to create, you know, you could use standard video assets that are approved or Gen AI type of content video. Now they fit underneath the message, but you didn't have to become a video designer of any kind. So that's kind of immediately creating a multi-sensory visual experience. Same thing with AI animation. You could use computer vision to understand what's on the page and create a pleasant experience like the one you've seen. Our brains are wired like crocodile brains. Fundamentally, we pay attention to things that move. And so this is a way to get your audience engaged. So that's the power of this instant animation. Another obviously thing that's key is, you know, being able to create immersive experiences to engage people. We have different preferences. Some people love to consume video. Some people like to read. Some people like to read before they consume, and vice video, audio, etc. And so this is a way where you could take thousands of content types that are just links inside your PDF, for example, and instantly turn them into interactive, immersive experiences through these links, and it'll kind of just keep playing. It will immediately take you back from the video. This doesn't have to be video. It could be a form. It could be a document inside another document or presentation or microsite. And that is actually, the microsite is sort of one of the key things that we've noticed. So if you can take a slide format we all know and turn it into a pageless scroll, like a microsite, scrollable microsite, you immediately create a perception that you built a website, whereas all you did really is just had a few slides, maybe like some thoughtful contrast between pages. Now, getting to the latest excitement around generative AI, obviously you can chat with all this content, and you could look through hundreds of documents, tens of thousands of pages, ask them questions, get answers, and then get the context where you get to the specific page in a specific document that answers your question. So you could actually have context, and then that page again will be dynamic. It will have navigation, and you know, all of that behavior that you're now doing was what was historically static content is now measurable. So you could just, as an author, you get the analytics dashboard. You could see the specific visitors by page, who interacts with what on a page, down to individual levels. So you could even see what I've looked at, where I spent, where I interact, which pages I interacted with. So that's a fundamental opportunity. And you see, I just clicked, this was a video that I clicked right inside this presentation, and now I'm back inside a mode. And you can see this is a real deck. You could go and see the actual deck if we have time afterwards to review the questions. We could flip this same presentation into that microsite view. So what's underneath this in terms of both technology and AI? And it's really important for us to highlight that we believe that to really solve the marketing problems, you can't just have only AI. You have to have a combination, kind of a full stack solution. So we're effectively creating tons of new mediums from that are interactive and engaging, like web-based interactive videos, interactive presentations, flip books, and you could look at all sorts of examples if you have time. So you've already seen some presentations of microsites. Then we have a no-code SaaS SaaS platform that allows you to do that generative stuff that everybody talks about today probably, but also enrich it where it's possible with your own design capabilities. So you have unlimited capabilities, organize it into content hubs that you saw, share it securely or publicly, and then get the analytics. And this really runs across. And then AI, and this is sort of a technology slide for those of you that want to see what's underneath the hook. AI becomes the accelerator, the enabler on all of these things. And we're very fortunate. We've been working at various AI solutions for a while, and they've been recognized for that. And then this is our ability to take the data that we're generating from Relay to both the content, the engagement data where we have access to it. Like oftentimes we don't because it's enterprise content, but where we have it, we can actually draw and extrapolate ideas from it. And whatever is the new best-in-class LLM fit for purpose for a particular use case in this solution, we could actually plug it into our architecture and then build in new features around AI. And we could come back to those in a second. So what's another unique thing about this particular approach is that you're fundamentally have a free tier that you could go and check out and explore and still benefit from the AI features, including like, hey, I have a 200-page PDF. I want to ask it some questions so I don't have to read the whole thing, all the way to more team-based solutions for enterprises that allow you to use some of the power features of the modules that are specifically focused on product marketing needs or demand gen marketing needs or kind of sales enablement and digital buyer rooms that you set up as part of an ABM approach to marketing. So the idea is that you can start with things as easy as transforming your PDF or presentation, but end up with a solution that actually transforms, the way you deliver some of your most important ideas to your audience. And this has been actually playing out. And I think the AI is an enabler to us in this, in the fact that, when you look in the B2B software world and generally software world, increasingly, G2 is sort of the voice of the customer, and it's sort of the replacing the old Gartner ratings. And we could see that we're participating obviously in marketing front and center in categories around where AI is enabling experience creation and distribution, but also just in pure kind of content design, and increasingly the types of areas where marketing content and content creation supports sales processes, so that content becomes a revenue driver. And that is really interesting because it actually enables marketers and even content designers to have a much more prominent seat at the table, because now they're able to use this AI accelerator to deliver ROI that is actually not like, hey, this is pretty, hey, this fits our brand, but more like this is driving conversions through the roof, because before PDFs don't have a conversion, or we're increasing win rates, or we get our partners onboarded independently, and so on. So that's the idea behind the ROI of AI. I think that not enough talk has been on the value generation. It's been a lot of like, oh, I'm saving some time because I'm doing this quicker. Well, you got to look at it from a business perspective onwards. And then, for us, important thing is like, hey, go book a meeting, right? Like what's the point of networking and meeting? Go book a meeting, go do it right now. It's the same thing. This is an example of ROI. Now a presentation can have a meeting that delivers value. So I'll pause here. Frankie, I don't know if you have some questions or observations as a user that you wanted to highlight. You're on mute. And if not, I can
Great
continue.
presentation. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So could you tell us a little bit more about, what's on your roadmap now for the next, I don't know, half a year or so? Like, what new features can people look forward to? You've got so many incredible features already, which I haven't seen any product like it before.
Well, yeah, I think one piece of it is that we're just basically going through, and maybe I could go show, because it's typically, I think the real value in going from a consumer AI, which is a lot of like what it is right now, to enterprise AI, is that you need to like go and let's cover some of these features, because I think we're constantly improving them. I think that's sort of the key message that I wanted to say. So when we started this AI content chat, version 1 was just looking at a single PDF document, right? And then it was like, oh, great. Like I have a 300-page PDF and I'm going to ask it questions. And, we thought, great, this is a good problem for the longer assets. And what we found immediately, people said, well, I have a hub of content and, I want to read that immediately, and understand hundreds, documents and find the nuggets. So you saw that's an evolution, and this is really hard to get right. And then like I think increasingly we're generating, people now want to have like FAQs that come. So there's like a lot of work around the AI content chat that's still coming. So we've introduced the hubs, but I could also show you how we are kind of talking about this sort of journey. And I think the easiest way to think about the AI is like that. Let's say these are areas of excellence, and these are all just thinking of barely out of beta, like, but like they're working now, right? So this multi-view generator, can always get smarter at understanding what's the best view, because we can feed it data. Hey, this type of document and this type of context performs much better if this is the view that if this is the view that you kind of default use. And so that's sort of where you start connecting. The more data we're getting was this recommendation engine. The AI animations has been really hard. And fundamentally, if you think about it, PDF is actually just, it's sort of a bunch of garbled text and images. It's not even like, it's not a digital file. So we've been working really, really hard in trying to parse it out and understand and test it. And I would say this is like a continuous effort. I think it will never be perfect. And so I think this is kind of where we probably need to just say, hey, like get even better, where people don't waste their cycles and trying to animate something that is not going to be a success. And then maybe preview immediately the best animations, even better based on, again, consumer engagement was the content. The background videos, which you're seeing here, is where we originally, actually, when we created this, I think, page a couple of months ago, we had to drag and drop our own videos. And now we actually have a video library that's pre-approved. And then the next step is the video will pop automatically in there. So I think that's sort of an interesting thing. And you can imagine, as a brand, you could have your library of pre-approved little like B-rolls, and they could just go automatically to enliven your pages. The navigation, again, is sort of consistently allows you to build smarter things. And I think what we're doing here is the key is not just to rely on AI only as a one-trick pony. Like some books have breadcrumbs, and those are better. Some areas have tables of contents, and those we can read those better than trying to kind of interpret and create page and category titles ourselves. So it's actually a mix of does AI do a better job, and where does an algorithm do a better job to create a much better experience. And so we talked about this sort of AI content chat for hubs, which
And
was
can
sort
I
of
ask,
the biggest.
do you think this could be the future of websites as a whole? Because you have so many marketers who focus on, landing page optimization, SEO. So it's all SEO driven. It's all driven by Google, and then you click on an ad, and then you go to a different landing page, and that's the kind of funnel through social media. Now we're actually seeing, ChatGPT being the source of information and plugins. And then I don't know how they would then get to your microsite. But what do you see this as a future kind of
Well,
actual
I think so.
user
We
journey?
focused a lot on sort of PDF presentation styles because it's sort of really universally understood. But like one great marketing thing on social is like infographic style images, right? Like, so again, the question becomes, can you easily personalize these? And then can they have an interactive call to action? Can they have a video to enliven them? And I think what we've seen is, now that we started with the sort of mission that we bring the most complex and most important ideas to life, right? And fortunately, what we've built is so simple that sometimes, even an infographic or like a social post can also benefit from that. And those don't need to be like, that could be for an event, just getting people excited about an event. They don't have to like be Einstein's theory of relativity type of content, right? So I think that's where we see some of the more universal applications. So basically, like, it's as simple as like, great, I'm using Canva to create something simple, whether it's like a mini book or mini kind of graphic. And then I know that if all I see is this graphic, people are not going to go and type in from the graphic type in my whatever I want them to do. Like I need like a glaring, obvious, inviting call to action that makes it easy to see what's going to happen if I click on it. And um, that is sort of where we see a lot of integrations, right? From whatever creation tools interrelate to. And those could be mass generated, like so sort of that's sort of where there's an opportunity. So you could kind of create tens of thousands of personalized websites, if that's kind of your
Yeah.
direction. But like bottom line, we don't need to compete with something that you're doing industrializing your landing page building, because I've never seen a landing page that actually serves substantive content, right? Like most landing pages run out of on page 4, and inside it, like there's like, hey, this is a landing page for this report that's 80 pages. Download the report, right? And like we see people work their behinds off to build like an executive summary for 4 pages of that report, like that could be fancy custom site, and they run out of steam because originally they wanted to do the full report that style, and they just inevitably run out of steam. And so this is where like an ability um to say, look, you don't need to try to force websites to be publications, right? Like they're different animals. And but you can make publications a lot more web-like. And those that want to print them out or download them for safe emotional safety, their archiving strategies, whatever, great. Like you don't need to make that trade-off. So I think that's what we're seeing, is we're seeing that where people tried to do websites, haven't succeeded, um, or their audience still wants the feeling that this is more substantive than a ephemeral website. They want the best of both worlds. And I think this is the approach that we're saying. You don't want to look, reading a book. It's good. It's good to know that something is a book versus just kind of a blog, right? And I think that feel like just the idea of that already feels like you're kind of getting substance, but then you just got to help people. So one of the innovation things, Frankie, that we've been doing, and we've really like created this concept of a pod book, where you mix a podcast with a book. And it's like it's taken off. Like we were the first ones to do it because we started a podcast and we wanted to do something special for our guest, and kind of create a few snippets and combine snippet of video, snippet of text, have it be in a special form. And now we're kind of leading with event books, right? Like, so after the event, you had an amazing event. What do you do with all those presentations? What do you do with the best videos? How do you organize it? How do you Sometimes the most important people couldn't make it to the event, right? But you want them to feel that the event was great, especially physical events, really expensive. How do you create that feeling? How do you get sponsors for the next event that weren't there? How do you create value for your sponsors, right? Because they want to see their brand somewhere on another asset other than the event. So that's an example of where really you're going to rebuild the whole event with all the content on a website. That's a pretty complicated endeavor. It's already hard to build just the pre-event website, right? Like but post-event has tons of content. And so that's where we enable something like this. So we're seeing increasingly in the world where there's a content overload, you kind of have to have this trust that it's substantive. It was the ability for people to navigate to the things they care about fundamentally, right? And that's sort of what we see as an opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, those are some great use cases, and you can take a really dry PDF that's boring for the employee to put together, it's boring for the person who receives it, it's predictable, to something that's just not as predictable and as immersive. And I really love that.
Yeah, and on the use cases front, I just wanted to kind of like, again, not to promote us, but more to like for an inspiration of like what's the possible. Like you've got a bunch of free templates, like we're not charging them. You could see these are some of the use cases, right? Like ebooks, magazines, right? How do you go from a PDF, PowerPoint, Google Slide, whatever's the content to something like this, and then live examples of like live content that's put together that we think is outstanding. So you could go into something like, I know you're into fashion. Actually, let me just show you in full screen. So this is a uh fashion brand from France, very very a beautiful content, and they still have to use presentations to tell the brand story. And so you could kind of animate them, obviously have more interactive elements where you could drill into certain things. And then you start incorporating videos the way we've seen, where you could just sort of just create a feeling. And then the whole thing is measured. You would, like though if I would normally maybe need to put in my email to see it, so the audience could, the sender would know that I'm looking at the stuff, and then I could jump specifically to the sections that I care about. If I'm into home and lifestyle, I could just jump into that directly and experience those categories. So it doesn't have to be boring B2B things, right? Like this is about as exciting for non-fashion person like me. This is like, when we showed this to, hey, check out some of our team, or some of their partners were like super impressed. Like, you're actually working on cool stuff, right? And Frankie, you know this world much better than
Yeah,
I do.
it's like a
That
no code solution as well, which
Yeah,
is great. And anyone can
yeah,
be creative with it. You just have to put
exactly.
everything in there. You've got all the templates that will help to optimize where things should go. Um, and I do like B2C a lot. You've also got like luxury, whether it's beautiful homes that are need a brochure for a property sale or a private jet, or which has like tons of specifications. So yeah, there's a lot of room.
Exactly. And even products like insurance, right? Like that,
Yeah.
what we like, what sounds like about us and glamorous as it, like from a consumer perspective, but actually like one of the use cases that really surprised us, and actually a great example of generative AI, is we had a few customers that were insurance employee benefits brokers in the US, and they became a reseller because they liked the solution so much. They actually go to other employee benefits consultants and brokers, and those are the people that deliver,
Helps them
like,
stand out.
helps
Amazing.
you deliver, explain to your employees what the hell you're buying from insurance.
Okay,
And in
so
America,
complex
it's
information.
complex information, but
Yeah,
this is like this is your spouse, right? Like, who you're buying insurance for, your family. Even like in the US,
right.
it's very different than maybe in the UK market. So it's a deliberate decision. You can't just go and have a training session, understand everything, and then
Okay.
it was in that you could navigate, you could drill into, oh look, I need to do some dental work, really important. Like a really complex hidden policy often is fertility, very important for many families. If you miss that, you that's a very expensive perk to miss or not miss. So like you got to elect the right plan that will, if you want to have better support for that important
Hey,
health
yeah, yeah.
decisions, right? So like, and so when we showed people the brokers, the content hub for chats, they were like, they went berserk, because it's like, we had to control F through 50 documents to find this
Uh,
thing, right? And now you basically go in there and ask a question like, what's the fertility benefit, and it's smart, it looks through like where the pages that actually address this in depth, you give you the answer, and then you could still double check, because you have
mhm.
3 or 4 pages where that is actually covered in great depth. So it doesn't have to be B2B. It's for humans. And that's sort of the
Mhm.
fundamentally what we care about, is like, how do you create something that's complex, that only robots can read, like, and has been produced maybe without originally that sort of human layer of engagement, and empower people, empower consumers, and make, like you said, creators feel proud of what you've done, right? Like, it's sort of, hey, I'm now a citizen creator, like, I've created an AI product. And you notice, like, when I showed you that
Yeah, I
demo,
mean, it's
the
a great
AI,
thing to be able
yeah,
to show your boss, like, you've been creative. Like the return on investment of something like this is great. Plus, it's AI, so you're just hitting so many different boxes.
right. Well, thank you for innovating and experimenting with this. And I think we
Yeah.
definitely are very excited to see, like, that you're using this and you're running Gen AI conference, and we have just came back from a kind of a leading SaaS, software as a service conference. Like, we're
Okay.
kind of a mix of a software as a service and AI company, and they're the conference organizers, they're using it, and it's sort of like
Oh
so much
wow.
fun to
Great.
see that people from different industries, are just embracing it. And like the common theme that I see for our users, they are the types of people, they're the buyers at least, they care about their audience. It's
Mhm.
as simple as that. They want to be proud of their work, but even more than that, right? Like I think they just want people to engage with their ideas. They feel like they have an important message to share, and they don't want that message to be lost.
Sure.
And and they just like to help people make decisions. Sometimes these people are in their company, and sometimes the people are they're kind of customer, like existing customers. Sometimes they're future customers, partners. But it's I think the what we are about, and that's why we're calling this interactive AI. It's about humanizing the interactions with content, right?
Sure.
And I think that's the fundamental missing part. And can you do it at scale? Well, obviously, like the
Yeah.
best interaction is what we're doing right now. But if you could do this at scale and have tens of people look at little video snippets of me talking, which
Mhm.
by the way could be generated through AI, right? And they're
Mhm.
plugged in strategically throughout that presentation experience. They're not going to hear a 2 hour discussion. They're
Yeah.
going to hear
And
just the
I
bit they
guess
care
another thing
about.
I really like is that, marketers are often like fragmenting all of the content that they're creating in like different forms for different platforms. And this is more of a holistic solution. It's like instead of that whole focus on distribution, let's just bring it all together into something immersive that has a story. And you're just allowing people to search through it. Um,
Exactly. Exactly. Oftentimes we're solving that, fragmented
which
problem,
is
right?
which is
But
just
yeah,
like,
yeah. Mhm.
throwing concrete at a wall, just like expecting it to stick and it won't. So once you've got
Mhm.
people there, you already know that they're a potential lead. So why not just give them everything all at once and allow them to search for the video or the infographic or the text according to who they are as a person?
Yeah, I think it's sort of always this trade-off between like how do you take somebody in the journey, right? Like and what we I think the lesson that we've learned, and we've made mistakes by the way in this, right? Like so, and I think other people making them. So the one mistake is like too much content, right? So then how
Okay.
do you simplify it at the beginning and like allow people to land into kind of a journey which feels like great, this is an easy step, right? Like easy step, easy step, easy step, and then all of a sudden you kind of get to the period that you really care about, and that's when you, to your point, that's when you really want all that content. So it sort of really depends a little bit on the stage, but either way people want to have a choice, but at the same time they don't want to think too much, right? And so it's sort of really strange balance. So like a feeling of a choice, almost like empowerment. Like if you want to think too hard, if you want to really pick what you want, you can, you're empowered. But if you kind of want to follow the story, there's a great story for you that's linear, that doesn't require a lot of processing. And then at some point in that linear story, you'll want to drill in to your point. And that the beauty of what you've described is, I think somehow we got this notion that like, oh, because I do TikToks, then everything to me is a TikTok. And because I do, PDFs, everything is a PDF, and at flip books, everything's a flip book. No, people want to consume different content at different times, even the same person, depending on their level of interest, and where they are, what device they're on. Are they in the middle, right before meetings, or are they in the weekend where they actually have time? Strangely, we have some of the most senior people consume stuff on the weekends, because this is when they have time to actually think sometimes and digest. And so you're grabbing that attention when people are interested. So
Oh, that's
I
a
think it just
great hot tip, isn't it? So most of this content should go out to execs on the weekend to have a real. Because it's true though, like during the week, we don't have time. We're in meetings and it's those snap decisions. And this is immersive content.
snap up. And I think it's sort of like a little bit, like you said, like it's sort of a harmonica, right? Like you could start pretty narrow, then you could scratch it out, and then you could go back to
So you could
narrow and
have a
scratch it out.
short form version, like short and snappy that, you get straight to the point. And then you have the longer
Yeah,
version where
like
people
imagine
want to
like
deep dive.
exactly. I think like if you think like here you go, here's a 40 page, PDF, and all I see is the PDF, right? Like
Mhm.
that's like, let's skip that first date and go under get married under the altar right away. That's like a big commitment, right? Like if you don't know much about what's going on. But I think if you have kind of some teaser and a summary that's engaging, and then say, by the way, if you're interested, like there's more there, right? And that maybe
Mm.
that's same document, adjacent document. That's a very different opportunity. As long as that experience is immersive and you don't get lost, you
Yeah.
actually can sort of like glide through. So again, the idea is we are all we need to work extra hard in helping humans make smarter decisions. And that um I think the risk of Gen AI, right, and the single format, like single mode, right, like we like what you've seen is obviously multimodal, right? You've seen videos, you could be audio, you could like um even print, there is a risk that we as a society, um on the one hand, are getting a little bit dumber because we're sort of consuming lighter mediums, right? Like snack, 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 snack. And at the same time, the substantive ideas, they're the ones that are the worst communicated, right? So while our capacity to process complex information is declining, the way the complex information is presented kind of remains the same. And then on top of it, we're getting all these distractions now, right? We're bombarded. And so like that, this is the fight that we're in, right? Like are we gonna enable, are we gonna use this great technology for good, or are we gonna go and like create demand and distractions for things that people don't need and will create value in their lives? That's where we are in the battle. So we choose who we work with. Actually, we don't want people that are doing kind of spammy things that don't
Oh,
help people
okay.
make good decisions, right? Like we really want to work with organizations that are
Quality,
quality,
substance.
substance, have great missions,
Okay.
um, like helping, and that genuinely care about the consumer, right? Like,
Mm.
there's plenty of people that create manipulative, spammy
Right.
content, right? Like we want to control for that. We work with great enterprises. So I think that's sort of a shift, I think, a little bit like when you shift from consumer world to B2B to nonprofits to causes where you're kind of selective about your audience.
Love that. I'm looking forward to seeing some more examples of companies that start using it. And yes, this is only the beginning of the journey. So can't wait to
Thanks.
see what happens.
Well, thanks for joining us on an adventure, and thanks for inviting us here as well. It's always great to be invited by people who actually use the product and know what it
Yeah, and
does,
Dongwei, who's
versus.
on the call, she's joining Gen AI Con on sponsorship, so I'm sure she's going to get her hands into this a little bit as well for our
Awesome.
sponsorship
Welcome.
decks. So thanks a lot.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I can be reached if there's any questions on LinkedIn, and alex@relate2.com.
Okay,
Happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
thank you so much. Bye bye.